welcome back to Live for Dead Garage. I'm gonna work on the 54 truck. This guy right here, if you don't know, the truck with no name still. So I'm gonna do a little shifter. I guess we'll have back-to-back shifter videos. Last week I did the Speedway shifter in the 39 Ford. What we got for this guy is the old tried and true, absolute one of the best Lokar. So you can always count on Lokar stuff being good quality, but it is not cheap at all. So that's kind of the downfall, but you get what you pay for, I feel like. So we're going to install this thing. I've not done one of these, so we will learn together. I kind of got all the pieces laid out here. So you got, like I showed you over there, the main shifter body. Got the main shifter assembly. Got some directions here. And this thing has this cool cage, backbone type setup that actually attaches to the transmission case itself. This runs down the top center of the case, and these kind of hang off to the side, and it locates. So you got these two aluminum bushings here that have a little counter bore in them, like you see there, and they actually fit. Let's see. Well, you see it right here, but they fit in these cast-in bosses in the transmission case, which one is here and one is here, and that's kind of what lets everything center and float, and then it'll come through. So the shifter itself actually mounts to the transmission. Got a new cover for the tunnel. Little did I know there's actually two covers for this thing. I guess one was like a floor shifted deal, so the actual area where the toe board is just a little different, but I can handle that. That's not a problem. I've got hammer and dolly, and we can get this straightened out. I'll put a thread set right here, and we can bolt it down. I actually may, since that's like a big sheet metal screw, we may actually put some 1/4-20 thread inserts, thread sets, whatever, in there. And that's how I had the throttle pedal on as well. So, and then we'll have to cut a hole in this for the shifter and all that stuff to come through. So we got this thing picked up. Can't remember what that cost. I actually had this delivered. I have a delivery system. Actually, no, I just had a friend that had it, and the guy locally didn't have one, so I bought his, and when the other one comes in, that one will be his, and it all worked out. So thankfully Chris didn't need that right now, and I actually did. So anyway, so I kind of read through these directions, not all of them, I'll be honest, and I kind of got an idea what to do, but let's lightly assemble this backbone area. It says do not tighten, leave it loose, and we'll set it on there and go from there. So let me grab the tripod. Alrighty, so let's loosely assemble this. Now these two holes here are threaded. They're tension screws, so to the front, and these are your side plates. They are left and right specific. This goes on the back if you're using two-wheel drive transmission. Four-wheel drive does not work. You got that adapter for the transfer case, so you won't use that. But there's a different method for four-wheel drive if that's your needed application. So I've got all my hardware laid out here. Assembly looks pretty straightforward. We'll probably just fly through this and focus mainly on mounting it on the transmission and cutting the hole, so, and making sure it works. So I'm gonna speed you up. Oh, before I speed you up, leave these loose. Do not crank them down. Now I'll speed you up. All right, so there's one of the bosses I was talking about. This is the other one. Hope you can see this. Yep. I'm gonna put this little bushing in here. It's got that counter bore, like I mentioned. Just gonna make sure these are clean, and they go. Then they actually slip in there. I removed these two top bolts out of the tail housing. It comes with, these are actually metric, so you will need, what is this, 4mm, I'm sorry, it's a 6mm hex socket or Allen wrench, whatever. And originally they were 15mm wrench head. All right, grab your backbone deal, and these will have to be offset. Just pay attention because I put it in that front hole, and I mean, it wasn't tight, so it only took a second to sort it out. But I'm just gonna lightly run these in just so it kind of holds it where it's supposed to. These self-tappers I've got ran through the floor here are a bit dangerous. Alright, so these set screws are what goes in these little bushings with the counter bore. And then it comes with the jam nut, flock nut type thing. All this stuff is standard thread, so you'll need your 3/16 Allen for this. Alright, I ain't gonna get crazy with that. I'm just kind of making sure it ain't gonna fall out. Alright, so nothing can fall out of there. So once you get those in there, then it says start tightening everything up. We'll tighten this back piece up onto the tail shaft, and then it says tighten these, and then go left to right. Then you'll set the tension on the little side wings. I didn't run that far enough in there, did I? And well, it ain't gonna fall out. Once you tighten these up, you'll go left to right, and then you'll set your tension on your little side wing deal here, and put your jam nut on, and then we'll keep it on from there. All right, we got those snug. We'll move on to these guys. All right, well, it didn't really specify an order, let me just say that, but went from the back left to the right, either way. So now we have these little tension screws left, and these wings are now tight on the case. What it says is to run those in until these little side pieces have about an 1/8 inch gap off of the case of the transmission. So just kind of do that as close as you can, and I'm guessing that's what really cinches it down. That looks about like an 1/8. And then we'll get our jam nuts and put on there. I am not going to snug these down. Well, yeah, I guess I can, because the backbone will stay on there. Do I happen to have the right wrench? Well, it's 14, but this will get me by. So we got those snugged down. Next step is we need to put some brackets on. We need to put some brackets on the actual shifter itself, and start moving forward on mounting the shifter. the arm, the lever mechanism to the backbone, and double check we have clearance for our bench seat and dash. Also, the cold weather must be rough on my camera battery because it already needs a charge. So I'm gonna put this on charge for a minute, and we will mount the shifter. All right, so on the shifter, they call these pieces the banana brackets. Now, it is very important that you use the correct screws. Let me pull one of these out. And the lock washers. So they're very short. Well, you don't have, see, there's a plate here that's welded in, and it's going to bottom out, and then you can't come through this wall because you'll hit the shifter when it goes to swing. So you have to use the shortest bolts in the kit. Funny thing is, these bolts do not come in the baggie with this bracket. These bolts do. These are in a separate baggie, and you have to use the lock washer. If not, it'll bottom out here and won't get tight. So, and then the lock washers are in the baggie with these brackets, but not with these bolts. A little confusing, just kind of got to pay attention to that. So, we got the brackets on. I think I got them on backwards. Yep, I do. So flip those around. Don't put them on like that. I'm gonna flip these brackets and we'll set it on the backbone, or whatever they call it, the main bracket, center bracket. All right, so these bolts here, these are 1/2-inch threads, and they come and they require these jam nuts, which is also not packaged with these bolts. They were packaged with the shorter bolts that hold the shifter together. So I'm gonna set this on here, and so you got plenty of slide this way, and then you also have tilt for the shifter. So we're gonna loosely set this thing together. Well, they're not a jam nut, I'm sorry, it's a lock nut that holds this on there, because you know these aren't threaded. So you'll have to, it's a little close in here, but I believe you can get it. But we're gonna stick one right there and stick a nut on it. All right, so we know the shifter's not gonna fall off in the floor now. I got some tape on this because that's black, like it's either powder coated or anodized billet aluminum, and I don't want to bang it up. So we'll have to fish that one out from under the truck. All right, so get those nuts on the bottom of those, and I'm just going to slightly run this down. Too much. I'll do one on this side too. Well, that side now, rather. All right, that's park. I'm gonna tighten up this piece. All right, you can, in fact, spin these things. So take that nut loose, take this jam nut loose on the shifter, and you can, but your adjustment is based on this button being flush, because that's how you unlock the shifter, the detent. So we're going to spin it 180 degrees. Push down on the shifter so the knob tension is correct. I'm going to spin the knob around. All right, I had to pull this thing back out. The gate is kind of funny. Like, there's no real, I mean, you probably feel it in the transmission, but as far as the gate for overdrive and drive, they share the same slot, and I couldn't. I was like, when I was counting it off, I was getting lost. So I pulled the whole thing back out and just kind of studied it and looked at it. You can flip all this, like I said. So now, since it's flipped, it's a mile away from where you would be seated. So I'm going to back these off, slide it back, and then this is loose again, so we can do some tilting there. Oh yeah, that ain't bad at all. Just kind of got to reach forward, knock it out of gear, you're in there. All right, so we kind of got that sorted out. Then you can pull her down in low, clearing the seat. You can hold it in gear for them spinning wheelies. Back to neutral, clear her out. Maybe a little rev limiter action, but maybe that's just me. All right, I didn't show you this out of the pack, but I'm sure you'll understand. So this is your arm. They call it a quadrant or something that actually fits that aluminum in there. It's machined to fit this deal here. And it says this arm should be at the 4:30 to 5 o'clock position, so 6 being straight down. And if it's not, I'll put this light in here so you can see, hopefully, this is splined. You can take this set screw out, pull this off, and clock it until this is in the correct position. It also comes with the transmission. It also comes with the shift arm, the selector, whatever, for down here. It needs to be slightly tilted back, which it's going to be what it is because the flats designate where that's at. So just reuse your nut, but held on the factory one, put that on there. Once you got those where they're at, then we'll measure and check it against the actual connecting rod, which is a long piece of all thread type deal, and it can be bent and manipulated around if it has to. It specifically talks about in there later 4L60Es with the park neutral selector box like a LS would have, LS later model 60E, an EFI basically. It may need to be spaced out or bent around it or whatever, but we don't have that because it's 700R4. So I'm gonna put this nut on, get the shift arm on the transmission, and then we'll start measuring for the rod. All right, so I've got mine cut, and this rod for my positioning and whatnot is 11 5/16. So that's what I went with, and it'll give me just a little bit of adjustment in and out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these little heims all the way down, so it's not a left and a right, which would make sense for adjustment, but I guess simplicity, it allows you to bend the rod and whatnot. So now my center eye to center eye is roughly 12 3/4, and that is from center of this to the center of that down there. All right, now this must go on the inside of the shift arm. If you're using a 60E trans, then it must go to the outside to clear your park neutral drive switch deal for the PCM. The nut on there. Now this bolt also has like a star serrated washer, kind of like a lock washer type deal, that also goes on this. Now this piece up here, you want to ring the center, so we're a little far out, and I'll have to refine that bolt. So we're going to thread these guys in. Until we get where we're going. So you don't want to cut it too short where you run out of adjustment, and you don't want to cut it too long to where you run out of adjustment the other way. See, it just goes right in there. Then you'll set your jam nuts, and you know you are exactly where you need to be. Make sure you got clearance down the side of the case and all this other fun stuff. All right, so it rubs just a bit right there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some washers and I'm gonna space this heim joint out so we can clear, because it just barely rubs it. And we got a few threads left, so stick a few washers on that. Let's see what 2 looks like. So that spaced it off a pretty good bit. Still rubs some. We could probably go a 3rd washer and still be in the nylon on the lock nut and not have to worry about changing the bolt. I went ahead and played it safe, put a little dab of blue Loctite in there. So we're clearing. It might just touch it, but it's just fine. All right, so that's the shifter install. Need to work on lining that knob up, but I can do that in the truck while I'm sitting there, or while I need to do that while I'm in the driver's seat. So everything works like it should. Reverse, neutral. And that'll be overdrive, drive. That's, I skip second, and that's all the way in low gear. So, all the way back to park. All right, I'm gonna pick up these tools, and we'll start measuring the floor, front to back, side to side, and figure out where our hole needs to be for the transmission tunnel cover. And we'll also check it. And see, we may have to cut it enough for the arm, since it's above the floor, so we'll take that into account too. So we'll pick up some tools and we'll get back to it.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
All right, I believe I've got this measured out. If I don't, I don't. You know, worst thing that could happen is screw this up and have to buy another one. And then I know what not to do next time. But my plan is not to have to do that. So I got it kind of laid out. About forgot the video. Got me a center drill going on there. I'll drill this 1/4 inch. I was going to cut it out square. Then I figured a round hole might be a little more appealing. Where'd it go? Oh, stuck to the magnet. Well, almost cut into the table. All right, so hopefully that'll work. Let's see. Well, unfortunately, I have to move the seat because this thing goes up under the seat just a bit, as you can see right there. So I want this, and the seat is just kind of like stuck in here with self-tapper. So what I'll do is I'll just try to slide it around, and if anything, I'll pull the knob or the whole stick off of that. Maybe I'll try that. That seems a lot easier. Let me try that. All right, before my microphone receiver dies, let me, I got this thing cut out. I was hoping the simple hole saw trick would do, but I had to work around some other pieces of the shifter. So that's, for the most part, that's lined up to where it's gonna go. May have to massage this a little bit right here, grind some, but I'm gonna take and do thread sets all the way around. I got a hammer and dolly this guy flat and drill a hole there too, but I'm gonna wait before I do that until I get all these other ones in. And also apparently need shop band-aids, so I'm gonna get these holes drilled. We'll put some thread sets in and work on that lip. I guess we'd call it done. All right, I got my thread sets in around the perimeter. I'm gonna bolt this cover on, and then we'll mark up there at the front, because I don't think, I may be wrong, these line up with right here. It didn't appear to when I had it laid down there, but we'll find out soon enough. Something funky going on right here. I'll have to get over there and take a look. Oh, see, need to trim the floor just a bit to clear it. We'll go ahead and mark it. Probably need to do a little clearance right here too. Probably just come up and blend that in just like that. You know, I could make it uniform and just something along those lines. All right, so now, yeah, see, these holes don't line up. So, need to do is mark these. Mark that one. I may actually wait and do that one when I hammer this flat. Actually, it won't matter, because that hole is way bigger than a quarter inch bolt. So I could probably take a dead blow and work on this right here. And this has actually got a pretty good gap too, so it'll have to pull down, and I'll probably have to work on it some too. But anyway, I'm gonna knock that out and trim this little edge on this floor. I believe we can call it good. So let's see what I can do with this. All right, I got these in. I thought I had a mess on the other side over here. This one was way close to the existing little hole like this. I was worried about that one. That one's a little bent, but I can put a bolt in it and straighten it up. This one ended up tearing into this hole. So I took the steel and I kind of placed it back, and I ended up just filing that hole there. It's like a 350 diameter to put these thread sets in. I'm hoping I can get away with these little shorter ones instead of these super long guys here. Oh man, I forgot to trim this. So I gotta do that right quick, and then we'll set the tunnel on, and that'll be it. Alright, now these short ones, enough. Yeah, it's like an in-between. I can always get some more hardware. It'll be all right. There's also a gasket that goes under this, so I'm not going to bother opening that because all this gets to come right back out. All right, well, there's the shifter. In all its glory. Looks like it's still touching just a bit right here, which I can fix that up. That ain't that big a deal. But yeah, that's the Lokar shifter. What is the part number on this thing? That'd be it. So, case mounted 16-inch double bend lever, black knob. Alrighty, there's a taco truck up the road calling my name, and my wife's busy, so that means my bill's gonna be cheaper, so I better go today. I've got the material for the seat plates. I'm gonna jump on that next. I probably won't cover it in a video. It'll just be a recap type thing. And then I've got, should be here today, there's a 4-port bulkhead that we're going to install right here because it's going to eventually have vintage air, but it doesn't at the moment. But 4 ports will let me do both AC lines and then in and out on the heater core. Got to have heat anyway, so it may get a full kit right out the gate. Either way, got a bulkhead coming. I'll probably show that install. What else? Still have to finish up throttle cable. I've got a bracket coming for that, and then I've got the pedal installed where I want it, right here. Still have to do some adjusting on the arms to get it for its full swing. There was a comment on this video, I don't know if this guy will watch it or not, but he said my pedal arm was on the wrong side of the steering column. The other kit for 54 and 53 and back, I'm pretty sure the arm swings over and around and hangs on this side. I can't remember Chris's truck or not, but pretty sure that's how it works. This one I couldn't put it over there. There's no way. You would have to move this much over here, and that would end up putting the booster way over here. And the ribs in the firewall up here, and I think there's another one that goes, yeah, right there, right here. That's what you use to locate it. So in case that guy watches this, that's why that pedal's on the left side. It's not a far distance from brake to gas. When I drive it, and if it feels funky, we'll Z it and move it over. But I don't think it's a big deal. I guess that'll do it. Thanks for watching Left 4 Dead Garage. Got some of the, well, I am wearing one. Got hoodies left. Got a few hoodies left. If you're interested in a hoodie or a t-shirt, I'd like to get rid of these things before I have 7 days of Left 4 Dead hoodies and t-shirts in the laundry. So that'll do it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.